Previously on Building a State with Ben-Gurion, we envisioned, illegally immigrated, redeemed, drained, and won. But Ben-Gurion knew it was only the beginning. In Europe, which was still picking up the pieces after World War II and the Holocaust, many Jews were waiting in displaced persons camps. In Libya, Iraq, and Yemen, there were Jewish communities in serious danger. Some people wanted time off after the War of Independence, but Ben-Gurion knew the Aliyah is an imperative need of the Jews of the land and a condition for the existence and the security of our state. Without Aliyah, this state is doomed to perish. Ben-Gurion aspired for Mass Aliya. All Jews who want to are invited. But there were also objectors. They couldn't understand how the small state, which had just won its independence, would be able to support so many immigrants. Ben-Gurion demanded the responsibility and took it all upon himself. If this Aliyah succeeds, it will not be to my credit. But if it fails and leads to the failure of the state, then the blame will be mine alone. The Mass Aliya started right after the founding of the state, while the country was still at war. Hundreds of thousands of olim came from Iraq, Romania, Poland, Yemen, Morocco, Bulgaria, Turkey, Libya, Iran, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, and other countries came to Israel. The unprecedented doubling of the Jewish population in just 3 years called for the efforts and sacrifices of all citizens and olim. The first problem to be addressed was where to house all the new olim. British army bases and even detention camps were used for the absorption of the olim. It was a temporary solution, and it gradually became permanent. It became more crowded. Different families shared the same roof, far away from any source of income. That is why Levi Eshkol initiated the Ma'abarot plan, placing the olim in temporary neighborhoods at the outskirts of established cities, in either tents, wooden shacks, or tin shacks. But immigration absorption means more than just putting a roof over people's heads. They also need to eat. The small state was struggling to feed so many mouths. In order to have enough food for everybody, Ben-Gurion's government introduced a policy of austerity. Food was rationed and distributed via food coupons in order to make sure that all citizens were provided for. Austerity forced the state to look for alternatives. Instead of eggs, there were powdered eggs. Instead of coffee, there was a chicory-based drink, and instead of rice, there was wheat-based rice. That is how Ben-Gurion rice was born. This beloved invention has remained in use since the period of austerity, and it is known today as petitim. The move to the Ma'abarot was intended for allowing the olim to find work and means of living. But this was not enough. In order to create jobs for the masses who came to Israel, the government implemented workfare, which included projects such as paving roads and planting forests. After so many years of exile, Ben-Gurion faced a challenge: unifying the multitude of olim from the diaspora into a united nation. Ben-Gurion attributed a central role in the melting pot to education, and he believed that efforts must be made to increase that which is shared and unifying, and to root out as much as possible that which divides and separates. For that reason, he established the compulsory education law, and several years later, he united the education streams and established the state education system. Teacher soldiers were sent to the immigration camps to teach the Hebrew language. Ben-Gurion believed that the IDF should take part in all national missions, including education and immigration absorption. And indeed, the army had another unexpected supporting role in the Mass Aliya. The winter of 1950 to 1951 was the harshest that the state of Israel has ever known. It snowed in Tel Aviv. There were heavy rains, and there were storms, floods, and a terrible cold. And all that time, tens of thousands of olim were living in shacks and tents. The Ma'abarot operation to save the olim from the cold and the wetness was one of the greatest triumphs of the new army, and not the last. Absorbing thousands of olim in such a young state is a success story, but this success came at a cost, and some of it can be felt to this day. The erasure of parts of the personal identity of both the olim and their descendants, cultural discrimination, and socioeconomic gaps. The Aliyah to Israel, The ingathering of the exiles and the challenges that accompany them continue to this day. Along with the Israeli-born, the olim continue to strengthen and develop both the state and the society we live in.